Hello, welcome back to the Beauty Way podcast. Today we have Rubia Lacerda. I think that's how I say. I've actually never say your name out loud, and then every time I say it out loud, I'm like, "Is that how I say it?" Who is here as our guest today? And we're so excited to have you, Rubia. I have been friends with Rubia for about 4 years, I reckon, ish, about there. I feel really excited about having Rubia here today. We've co-created in lots of different ways over the years, and it's been so incredible, like actually so incredible to witness you and your really kind of coming out and your extension into your own expression into the world. Because when we met, it was still sensitive or there was, I can't think of the word, but it was challenging for you. And so the journey that I've witnessed you go on has been really incredible. I find Rubia hilarious, super fun, and so I imagine this conversation is going to be awesome. Rubia does really lots of magical things. I think when I first connected with you, you were doing Theta Healing, and I think there was some kind of psychic stuff kind of woven into there, and we knew about her like contact from young kind of age. However, that has come more and more and more and more online over the last few years, and it has come more and more and more public for her. And I would love her to share a little bit about that journey because it's been really amazing. And so Rubia is running a retreat in the end of June in Bali called Starseed, which is a really big part of the preparation for humanity coming into contact with light beings, with star races. And so it's a really exciting thing for us to talk about today. So thanks for joining us, Rubia.
Thank you so much for having me. Oh, it was so nice hearing you talk about, it's been amazing you watch my journey because sometimes I forget. I'm like, could be doing better. And then I'm like, oh wow, I've come so far.
Yeah, you really have. Really, truly. I have so many recollections of different stages because we were so closely entwined for that time. And to witness it, it's been really incredible. And I honestly, one of the things that I love about you the most is your authenticity and your ability to be truly yourself, because there is no differentiation between Rubia online, Rubia on a podcast, and Rubia in person. And when we hang out in person, like that's one of the things that I love so much. I don't find that there's anything kind of hidden. Your humility and your ability to be so connected with your human self while simultaneously being so connected with the cosmos and the galactic nature of our existence is something that's really unique and really special about you that I don't see with everyone. Yeah, so thanks for joining us, babe. Do you
Oh,
want to
thank
share a
you.
little bit about your journey to start off with?
Yes, so much to share about my journey. Let me think of the exciting bits. So I'm a channeler, trans channel of the Arcturians and ascension mentor. And I support beautiful beings, as you said about the theta healing. So beautiful beings of light like us that are on this ascension journey with quantum healing, so DNA reprogramming, getting to the childhood and ancestral trauma that is holding us back from fully step into our soul mission and living a soul aligned life.
Mm.
So I've become very passionate about that because, as you said, Carissa, I had so many things that held me back. And for a while, I just thought I was a victim of life and things weren't just working out for me. And when I came across certain modalities and the theta healing, the DNA reprogramming, all of that, and I realized I was like, wow, I can actually shift and change this. Then I can walk this, I can live a better life and I can do what I love. Oh my God, yes, please sign me up. And then as I've been doing that for the last few years since 2020, I then started helping others to do the same. So there's so much that I could share. Is there anything specific you'd like to share? Because I'm like just looking at the story, I can see the timeline is like,
Yeah,
wow.
well, the first thing that comes to mind was you coming out of the Galactic Closet. I feel like that was like one of the really pivotal moments for you.
I would love to know that. Yeah.
Yay. So I grew up in Brazil and I lived like I started feeling like I was a black sheep of the family and a connection with beings and spiritual beings when I was around 12. I'm 42, so it was before just when the internet started coming out. It's not like I had access to go and be, I'm a starseed, because it wasn't being fed to me. I felt it. Not the word starseed, but felt a connection with extraterrestrial beings. And as we call them, we like to call them beings of light. And I just lived a, really mainstream life, went to uni, came to Australia to improve my English, and I was just doing all the jobs. And I thought, once I get a government job, then I'll be happy. And I had government jobs and I was miserable. And then I was like, okay. So in 2015, I took the courageous act of the action of going part-time on my job instead of taking a promotion. And I started studying because I still thought I needed a degree. So I tried naturopathy. Then I was like, okay, I don't want to learn about how the cell functions. And I started studying through naturopathy. Naturopathy, I learned about transpersonal counseling.
Mm.
So I started doing transpersonal counseling, and most of my teachers were shamans. What are the chances that life guided me there? And when was this? So I had a few ayahuasca journeys and all of those things. And then I studied Theta Healing, pranic healing, and then I went to Brazil to practice. So I quit my job, the credit card debt, and made my way to Brazil in 2018 to practice with people from my hometown because they see me post on social media and are like, who is this woman? She's the daughter of a doctor talking about holistic health. So back then I was not talking about ETs. I was just talking about I was a holistic counselor and a pranic healer. So I was like keeping myself in a normal box. Um, and I had clients very fast. Normal box, I know. So through beautiful synchronistic events, my sister had a little. She's a beauty therapist. She didn't use her room much, so I was using the room that she had, and I did a little free event to talk about holistic health. I had 100 people, and I love speaking on stage, so I had no problem speaking on stage. And from that event, someone put their hand up and said, I had an incredible healing with Rubia, which meant I had clients every day for 3 months. So it was incredible. So like, not much marketing, not much advertising, literally like it's like I was going through university of life. And in one of those healing sessions, this person is lying on a massage table. I talk to them first, and I'm working on their chakras. So pranic healing is very similar to Reiki. I'm clearing their chakras, bringing through light. There's all this process that's happening. And my hand's hurting a little bit. It's the end of the week because you do this a lot with your hand, like clearing the chakras. And I remember having the thought, oh gosh, I can't do this forever. Like, I love what I do. People are having incredible results, especially, with anxiety, depression, and panic syndrome. There was a lot of that because people were taking medication. People stopped taking medication. It was amazing. And I was conflicted. I can't keep doing this. And as I had that thought, my third eye just blew open, and I had this vision of five blue beings. And they said to me, well, we can come and co-create with you and we can teach you so much more and you can do so much more than what you are doing right now. Would you like to know more? I was like, please go away. I cannot tell people from a small religious country town in Brazil that I'm seeing blue beings ETs. Guys, go back, go away, bye. So that was that experience. And I was a bit like, oh my God, like, what do I do? And back then, I don't know if it's me, I didn't have Instagram, so social media wasn't as big on Starseed as it is nowadays. So I didn't even research anything. I was just like, oh my God, they're making contact now because I saw the tail end of a spaceship when I was 12 and that stayed with me. So I came back to Australia, tried to do the same thing on the Gold Coast. I was new here and it didn't work. No business idea, no marketing, no sales, no nothing. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to go back to work. So I started working again in a call center. So that was really painful, the polarity of that, like what I just experienced helping people. Then I go back to a job. It was like a huge slap on the face, but like I didn't know how else to make money. I had so many scarcity programming. And in 2020, when the world felt like the world was going mad, I could not stand that job anymore. Like it was literally like killing my soul. And I saw a woman talking on Instagram about, like if your parents had scarcity programs, you're most likely gonna have it as well. Even if they had money, this is gonna happen. And I was like, oh my God, that's me. So I had a session with her. That's how I learned about theta healing. And then I went and did another ayahuasca journey. And like when I talk about psychedelics, I always like to tell people, please research, make sure that if you don't allow this story to go and go, oh, I'm going to do it as well, because I have had issues with psychedelics. Like once it took me 12 months to recover. So please be very careful and choose proper people to do it with. Um, and so the theta healing session with this woman like blew my whole reality open. I was like, wow, I'm creating all of this. Okay. And then 3 weeks later, I did an ayahuasca journey where Jesus came to me and said, it's time that you come out of the galactic closet. And it was so real. I was remember lying there and he seeing him, and I was like, wow, okay. And then the next day I had the date. I don't usually tell the story with all these details, so you're getting all the juicy bits. And I was a bit out of it. And this guy was like a breathwork facilitator and a storyteller. And it was a date that I met online. And I said to him, look, I'm a little bit sensitive. Just had ayahuasca last night. He's like, what are you doing here? You should be integrating. I said, I know, but I was guided to come here. Look, I've seen these ETs. I've seen them in ayahuasca. I've saw their spaceship. They've shown me, like, I've seen them. They've held me. I looked into their eyes, all the experiences that I had. And they told me that I have to come out of the galactic closet and tell my truth. What do you think? Like, hoping that he's going to say, don't do it. That's crazy. He's like, Rubia, you have to tell your story. I was like, what are the chances? Okay, so then I'm like, but what do I do? And then he told me about this galactic mentor. He's like, look, I know this person that's mentoring with this galactic mentor, and you should learn from her. I said, okay, let me check this out. So long story short, I remember one day I decided. I said, okay. I just sat on my veranda. I had the flatmate at the time. We did some cacao. I said, look, I'm gonna channel. Is that okay? I'm gonna channel these beings. I've channeled my indigenous guides before, but today I'm gonna allow these cosmic beings that want to come through. And honestly, it was something like I've never experienced before. I went so deep and I was still speaking their message. And it was beyond, it was like, wow. It was like it was incredible, like something I've never experienced before, but it was also a remembering. It was never experienced before and also familiar because I remembered. I remembered something deep. And the next day, I just wrote what I experienced in a very short post and I put on my business page, not on my Facebook, because I was like, I'm going to keep this on the business page that is a bit hidden that I don't even use anymore nowadays. And then I was a member of the Gaia TV group on Facebook because I had a membership and it had over 20,000 people on that page. So I just decided to share my group there and somehow my post there and somehow they approved and the post blew up. I had people from all over the world. No one knew who I was, commenting, liking long comments saying, I am crying reading your post because I said, I grew up in a small country town. People are going to judge me, will think I'm crazy. The world think I'm crazy, but this is me. I channel. They spoke through me last night and they said, let go of the madness of your mind and your ego and allow your soul mission to come through you. Something along the lines of that. I still have the post. And yeah, people are like, I resonate with this too. Oh my God, this is my story. Oh my God, I wanted to tell the world and this and that. So that's when I realized, okay, and then I'm onto something big here. Like this is big, and that's when I started working with a mentor, and that's when I met you, Carissa.
Yay.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that story. It's funny, I was with a friend this morning and I was sharing with him I've had a wall hanging for a long time. I think I got it from the Crystal Castle in Mullumbimby years and years ago. And it's a quote from Buddha and it says, your work is to discover your world and with all of your heart give yourself to it. And as I was listening to your story just then, I felt as though what you were sharing was such a beautiful example of that. It was like this journey of knowing this is not where I'm supposed to be. I'm just going to follow the breadcrumbs and I'm going to feel in my heart what feels right for me. And I'm going to discover what I love in my world. And I'm going to pursue that in a way that like I get out of my own way. You know, I hear this person say, if your parents had scarcity issues, then you've got them. And so I'm going to go and I'm going to meet that person and see what they can help me do to get to this point now where you are not only channeling these beings, but communing with them on a regular basis. I mean, I'm making a somewhat of an assumption there, but that's what feels right to me.
Totally. I love how you put it that way. So true. So true. Yes.
Mm. Yeah, so beautiful. There was a few parts of that story that I don't think I've heard before, so it was nice to take that journey with you. And I think that off the back of that, there were so many layers after that moment, because after that moment, you had like more layers of coming out, I think, after that, because I remember some of the stages kind of even more and even more and even more. And yeah, it's been really beautiful to witness the courage, because I think that for so many people stepping out, and obviously for you in your experience, it's a really, really scary thing, because typically the world and humanity have so many limitations on what things should look like. And like you said, you were trying to stay normal and that's what's acceptable. And so I feel like it's so much courage is required to kind of take those leaps. And at least from what I've seen in you, I feel like it's paid off and paid off and paid off. And every time there's just even closer and closer and closer to your soul embodiment. And I think that that's where the authenticity comes that I was speaking of before, because there's a courage to continually be yourself, even in the face of what feels really scary, or what feels like isn't going to be accepted. And I think it's really beautiful and really awesome to witness. And so celebrating you. and
Yeah.
so and so tell us a little bit about the preparation for humanity for contact. Let's talk about contact first. And for those of you who are listening who are unfamiliar to this, we're talking about contact with extraterrestrial beings, with beings that are not residing in a human body on Earth. And so typically we connect with them through the quantum field, and depending on the level of, I guess, visual access will depend on how much you can see that. And Rubia's visual is highly activated, and so there's a lot of visual kind of capacity. And so contact is more, from my understanding, about physical contact. So less about connecting just in the field and through kind of the energetics and just seeing through the activated third eye, but actually coming into even greater physical contact, meaning that it is actually in physicality. And so that's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rubia, but do you want to just talk about the preparation for humanity a little bit more?
Okay. There's so many layers to contact. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Contact. So, as part of humanity's evolution and ascension, as you know, like we have our spirit guides, we have our teams, we have support. We are receiving support with our ascension. And simultaneously, we have free will. So we are shown the support, we are shown the timelines that are available that we can step into, but they are not able to interfere with, okay, don't do that stupid thing there, don't do that. But the ascension and evolution of humanity is like the ascension of all dimensions is important for the ascension of all that is. And one of the reasons why we have so much support from beings of light is because humans can be, and like the word, I'm going to honor the word that's coming up, can be quite stupid. And, and like, and because of those very things that are in the structure of our DNA. Like if I accumulate as much wealth as I possibly can, as much power, then they don't feel the pain of that is in the structure of their DNA which is of our DNA, I should say, because it's in our DNA, of feeling safe and secure. So this that is in the structure of DNA, it's causing like so much, which gets to the point of causing war. So if certain nuclear weapons are used, they can really interfere with the ascension of all that is. And that's where these beautiful beings of light that, for lack of a better term, extraterrestrial beings co-create with us. And one of the reasons of coming and making physical contact is because it means that the moment that we get to the level that we are able to make physical contact, it means that we are ascending out of certain programs of going into galactic wars, for example, of going to war with them, because we've been programmed for the entire time that we've been humans here. We've been programmed to either make fun of ETs or to fear them, because we know that when they come, we actually ascend more. We ascend into, fifth dimensional levels and beyond, which we are. And look, there's so many ways that I can say this, because most of us, a lot of us, are already living in fifth dimensional realms. We oscillate between realms, depending what's happening in our lives and depending on what we choose to give our attention to. So one of the reasons that I have been guided, and I felt guided, and I felt called as well, that I chose to connect so much with contact and doing the Starseed contact retreat, is because to prepare humanity, everything that I'm sharing with you now, this message that I'm sharing now, it's that so that we are preparing humanity to know this, that they are beings of light and they are coming here to support us, and they are coming here from stopping humanity from shit literally hitting the fan on a large scale, which is the destruction of like the core of Gaia. If like certain these nuclear weapons are used, you're actually you destructing like certain structures of the earth that can create so much bad negative ripple effect. And I don't share this for to come into like as a message of fear, but it's more of a message as to why they are so engaged in making contact with us. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think it's really powerful to have that kind of foundational piece, because as you said, the more we ascend means that the more capacity we have for love, ultimately, because the higher dimensions have an invitation for that every time we create more and more consciousness and more awareness. And from those places, there's less space for the greed, the power, and all the things that create those problems. And so I think it's really valuable to, I guess, understand that as a foundational piece of what we're moving away from. And I think at an individual level, again, for those that are listening, that this is kind of maybe newer to, at an individual level, all this looks like is our own personal healing, our own personal unravelings of the threads that keep us in loops of fear or of feeling like we need to have or get something in order to be enough. And as we unravel all those pieces individually, obviously that ripples out and creates an impact on the world. And so for some people, the main objective is just focus on me, do the unraveling, allow that to impact my immediate environment. And then for some people, there's also the added aspect of that they're here to also kind of create support and change for others to do the same. And so when Rubia shares about her mission and the kind of pieces of the unravelings that get to happen for people through these DNA healings and through all of the different aspects of that work, it's a huge foundational piece for all of us to shift and move towards. And there are so many beautiful light workers out there that are really supporting the anchoring of something new. And so it's really beautiful to hear about.
What I love as well is the position that you're coming from, Rubia, is I can really feel the love that you have for these beings. And the piece for me that you spoke to throughout the theme of like when you were weaving the story was that aspect of love, which has just been mentioned. And go back to this to the statement, the quote, by Buddha, discover your world, and with all of your heart, give yourself to it. And what I see is this aspect of what we're doing is, at the more and more of us who talk about this, we're actually contributing by simply by talking about it on this podcast. We're actually contributing to these beings being able to communicate with more and more people, because you as a channel are opening yourself to communicate through you, with no fear of these beings. And that's an important piece, is if we are fearing these light beings, then we're not actually fully open in our consciousness. But if we allow ourselves to come from a place of love and commune with these beings, that's the consciousness that can impact humanity. And so it's like you started, when you first started, I think when Carissa asked you the question, you said there's so many layers to contact, and that is it. You know, the more and more that we open ourselves to the layers and layers of love that's available, the more that we get to expand the consciousness of humanity. And as I'm hearing you speak, that's what I'm feeling you doing for the collective, is by sharing the message of these beings, you are actually impacting the consciousness of everyone that you touch. And then those people touch more people, and so on and so on. So thank you for the work. I can really feel it. I've had goosebumps a few times.
Oh, I love that so much. Thank you. I love how you ladies put things. I'm like, oh wow, yes.
I wanted to pick up on a thread that's kind of sitting there. Rubia, you shared that during one of your journeys, you had a connection with Yeshua or Jesus, and he shared with you to come out and bring this to the world. And I feel like there is a huge misconception in a lot of the spiritual community, and a lot of people looking at the spiritual community, that if you are connected in the more galactic senses, that you are not connected to the lineage of Christ consciousness, of Christ as a frequency, or as a being, as an individual who is held a blueprint for love. And one of the things that I love about you is your ability to not just hold both, but from my perception, it is that the misconception is that when people are in contact with non-physical beings, at least in this dimension, that they are in some form of worship, or they see them as gods. And I would love for you to share a bit, because I know that you've had a bit of a journey with this kind of topic. And for me personally, I obviously have my own ideas, but I'm curious if that kind of brings any threads through for you around like the differentiation and the understanding of how you perceive these beings, as how you differentiate that from your belief in God, for example.
Mm, I love that question. Like you said, there's, since all of this started for me, there's been unraveling. So I came out of the Galactic Closet in 2020, but in 2024, last year, I came out of the Jesus Closet. So what happened is I realized that the humans in general can be quite harsh. So I had this perception that once I start sharing spirituality with spiritual people, then I'm gonna be so loved and accepted. And it hasn't been like that. They're so like doesn't mean because we're spiritual or doing this work that we're not gonna judge or be judged. So I held back in talking the story that Jesus told me to come out of the galactic time. I never said it was Jesus. I said this beautiful being of light. I only told that story last year, which is 2024. And what happened in mid 2023, I had an experience with psychedelic where I experienced drug-induced psychosis. And which in spiritual terms is a Kundalini awakening. And I was just blown open. And in that, I went into fear. So I have always been very spiritual, but my emotional body was a little bit immature. So when all of that happened, I literally thought I'm going crazy or I'm gonna die. I fucked it. I went too far. Like I went too far. That's it. This life is done, right? I'm gonna end up in a mental hospital and that's gonna be the end. And in that process, I went into so much fear that I met some Christian people that were Christian and said, you can't channel, you're being punished because you did that, that you're being punished now, and they're entities and they're bad and you shouldn't do that. And I was like, oh, I was neutral, but I thought maybe they're right. So I closed my channel and I said the beings, the Arcturians, that no channeling, don't come near my field, I don't want anything. And all I felt trust to connect with was Jesus, Mary, and God. I say God. Growing up Catholic in Brazil, I use the word God, source, creator. And that was it. That was all I could, that I trusted in. And I even went to a Christian church a couple of times. And then I was like, oh my God, I just, it was just too much because I had seen and experienced so much. Like, it was almost like there was no going back to what I had already seen and experienced. And 5 months later, someone reached out wanting a trans channeling with the Arcturians, and this person, like, she's already featured on Gaia, and she was a bit of a big deal. And I was like, she's had a few sessions with me throughout the years, and there was this human part of me is like, oh, I can't say no to her, but tune in, drop in. It's like, no, it's meant to be. There's meant to be. And when I did, I cried. Like, I trans channeled them for the first time again after 5 months, and I went back and forth a little bit with when I went to Brazil after, because I was going through such a hard time. I went to Brazil, spent 4 months with my family, and there I went to a Christian church. I went to Catholic church. I spoke with the priest. I never told them the details of what I used to do back then, what I do now. But I just said I'm going through a really hard time because it triggered this depression, this anxiety it was full on. And in that search, I remember one day I snapped out of it. Well, the priest of town actually told me, you just need to make a choice. Because I told him I had been going to the Christian church as well. He said, you just need to make a choice because now, right now you're confused. And I recommend you get a psychologist just to help you with normal things of normal day-to-day life. And I did that. It was incredible. And in that experience, then I chose the path that I'm on. It helped me because I went and tried different things. And I came back to this path. And then I realized that I can be all the things. I can be spiritual. I can swear. I can trans channel galactic beings. I can talk to Jesus. I can talk to Mary. I don't want to be in any boxes. And as I continue this journey, I am unraveling and I am like literally, and this is what my body's doing. I'm like getting rid of all of these boxes. And when I share this online, yes, some people get triggered, but the thing that I've learned about people getting triggered or not being perfect for social media is that what I am here to do and what we all are, it's to share a gift with the world. When I share online, when I share my gifts, when I do anything that I am sharing, and whether that's about Jesus or religion or galactic beings, the world is receiving a gift. Some people will unwrap it, which means they're like, wow, I'm receiving a transmission here from this. Some people will hold the gift but never unwrap it. And the people that don't unwrap it, they either don't say anything or they project. They project hate, they will project something. And I've learned that now I am okay with people that are not unwrapping the gift. And if they want to project, they want to put a hate comment, they want to reply to my emails, complain about my prices, whatever it is that people project that I've held back for so long that I wouldn't post because I'm like, oh, but they will think I'm this and this because I am charging for a service, because how dare I, when whatever it is, the programming that I used to have. So it was a projection, right? So I think I went on a little bit of a tangent there, but it's unraveling. Just before we spoke, I was just writing a post about the another unraveling that's happening of the overuse of AI and ChatGPT to write content, for example. So it's coming. That one's going to trigger some people. But this is the thing. This is a big thing. And yes, we started with Jesus, and now we're talking about triggers. So I hope that answered your question.
Do you know what? It's so perfect because before we came on the call and you asked me because we've not met each other before this moment of coming on this podcast, and you asked me what my belief was, and there was part of me that wanted to say there is no belief because for me it's what you've just spoken to is this constant challenging beliefs that exist to open more and more and more. So yeah, we spoke about Jesus, and then we ended up speaking about AI, because there are no boxes. As we allow ourselves to unravel and open, there are no boxes. It's limitless, and we're available. That's how we get to connect more and more and expand the consciousness more and more, because we're constantly allowing ourselves to open to what we thought was true beyond this moment and beyond past moments.
Yeah. And I feel like you answered the question perfectly, because ultimately what I was getting at is, how do you hold that, what is perceived as polarity, which is to hold it all and to be not locked into a polarity, because when we hold things in the unified field, it's all there. And if we're not in judgment of one or the other, or putting it into a box, then that's where the unified field exists. And so I feel like you answered exactly what I was asking, which is, some people have this perception that it has to be this or that. And some people have this perception that one is better than the other in either direction, both ends of the spectrum. There's either a huge judgment on like the Christianity movement, or there's a huge judgment on the kind of more spiritual, new age, kind of galactic side of it. And for me personally, like, there's such a resonance with people who are like holding it all. Like, it feels to me like bringing it all together, just for me personally, feels like the yummiest place, because there is no separation, because it's all there, it's all powerful, it's all incredibly potent, and to separate it almost minimizes what's available, and it limits our ability to kind of dance with different things, because and I feel like so much of it is because of the boxes and the kind of stories that we've made about all these things. We make them right or wrong, or better or good or bad. And to hold it all together, I think it's been a really big part of my journey as well. Yeah.
Which
Yes,
is
totally.
an ultimate, a beautiful example of the beauty way, really. That's what this podcast is called, is the beauty way. And what you're describing is walking that way, constantly opening to more and more of the beauty that's available to us. The question that just arose then was, when you're doing your retreat, the Starseed retreat, what is it that you're offering to people in the way of expanding their consciousness and opening to this contact with these beings?
Mm. So contact, because people say a lot of channelers, who say, um, when is contact happening? People like we talk about a portal that opened in 2024, and it's very intensified from 2024 to 2027. So if you ask different people, they'll give you different dates, and the dates as in year, and and people go all the way to 2050, and people have said 2024, and it's really dependent on the individual and the collective ascension. So that is why the work that we do in ourselves, it's so important, because as we ascend, we are contributing to how humanity is shifting, how this path is shifting. So one of the core of what we're doing at the Starseed retreat is we're getting to, I talk about descension into ascension. So I talk a lot about being a bridge between third and fifth dimensional realms within and without. So within us. So we will go deep into those parts of us that have been holding us back from, potentially fully stepping into our soul mission. And the reason why I talk so much about soul mission is because as we fully step into our soul mission, it gets revealed to us these parts of us that we may be wanting to avoid, because when you step into your soul mission and you make the what you love the most as a business, it brings up all your shit to the surface, like all the money programming, the fear of judgment, the I don't want to do this because this person's not gonna like, and this person's gonna judge me, and then there's so much programming, and there's the surface programming, which is what I'm saying out loud, but then we go deep into the unconscious programming, and that's where all the juicy stuff is. And the retreat is 4 days, and when I talk about, it's like it's a 4 human days, but it's about 5 years of 5 years energetically speaking. So there's so much, and I'm offering 6 weeks integration with 3 sessions because it's going to be quite deep, not like people do, let's do a 4-day retreat and bye, see you later. And then people are like blown open, like going, what do I do now? And so we go deep on that, and then we will start then awaken dormant codes of the fifth dimensional self and beyond. And when I say fifth dimensional self, basically awakening those parts of us that can fully sit here and say, I know that there's going to be a consequence of me coming out of the galactic closet. I know that there's going to be a consequence when I press post, and I am willing, I am able to sit here in the seat of my higher self, knowing that the projections can happen, and I'm still sitting in the seat of my higher self. Like, I've lost friendships. I've had people fully block me because they became Christians. They're born again Christians. It seems to be a thing at the moment. A lot of new age people, born again. Literally, I saw someone at a party recently, and I walked past her and said hello. She kept walking because now she's Christian, and whatever I do, it's not a, so this is it's the thing, it's the consequence that I have chosen to live with, because my mission is worth it and walking my truth is worth it. So then we in that process, we've been activating the crystalline nervous system of the earth and our individual crystalline nervous system, because as we shift our beliefs, because expanding the nervous system is very important, but we also need to be shifting the beliefs to come with the expansion of the nervous system. And that's the crystalline nervous system. And we connect with our cosmic blueprint. As we are connected with our cosmic blueprint, is like what some people call the Akashic records. We are remembering so much that then everything becomes so much easier, that these things, these limitations of the human don't hold us back so much. And then there's the galactic magic. I talk about shamanic galactic activations that I do, that people say is like being on ayahuasca journey without taking ayahuasca. So yeah, so it's going to be, and I have a co-facilitator. We were speaking about it the other day. We know what we're going to be doing. And we also know that the soul of Starseed, it has a divine intelligence that will be guiding us and guiding the whole group and all the souls that already said yes, and the souls that are yet to say yes in human form but already said yes in their soul level. So it's an absolutely incredible way to walk my mission. Like, it's been such an honor, and it has been one of the biggest initiations of my life. Oh my God. There were days like in the last few weeks where I'm like fried. I'm like literally fried and cooked and going, oh, what have I done? Why did I say yes to this? Because my human has been tested, and I'm got like, it's almost like I'm being, not almost like, I am being prepared to fully step into the version of me that's like, okay, everything that you say you're going to be offering people at the retreat, you're being tested on right now to make sure that you are in integrity. So it's like doing, to me, integrity is doing the thing, the right thing, whatever the right thing is for me when no one's watching. So if I am gonna say that we are gonna be supporting beautiful souls that are coming to activate the crystalline nervous system, how is my nervous system? Okay, so if my nervous system is cooked, am I scrolling on social media endlessly, or I'm going outside, putting my feet on grass and doing body movement and breath work? So it's like, it's the thing that no one is seeing, but it's the thing that I'm doing. So it's initiating me so that beautiful souls that come will be taken on initiation with integrity. So I'm not just saying it, but I'm walking the talk.
Yeah, there were a few pieces there. I want to highlight that Rubia mentioned the year and a bit worth of time where she had that experience of the drug-induced psychosis. And I really want that to not be minimized, that I want to highlight how intense that was. I was a witness to part of it, having known Rubia during that time, and to have seen her go through all of those pieces that were a real, genuine struggle. And like, when you shared the integrity piece and doing the work, like, you are such an example of that, because the places that you got taken to in the struggle of what it is to be a human, and all of the different layers that were woven within that, was such an intense journey. And to have come out the other side and truly devoted yourself to your own unravelings of all these pieces that, you know, people that you've been sharing around the, I feel like that was a huge preparation as well. Like your nervous system was, you went into a dorsal vagal collapse. Like there was like a full, complete nervous system breakdown that you have now built yourself back up to. And now you are teaching or bringing this kind of thing through because you have genuinely walked that journey. Like I have not seen anyone go through that level of intensity as I witnessed you. And so I really want to like highlight that when Rubia talks about that being a hard time, it was a really, really, really hard time.
And so beautiful as well, you know, from an
Yeah.
observer perspective, because I wasn't there, but to know that I'm guessing that part of your ability to be able to go through it was the people that you consciously chose to surround yourself with. Rather than staying in that place, you actually actively found people that were going to be able to support you and help you to move through it without feeling judged and without feeling shamed and all those things. Knowing that those emotions are going to arise, but knowing that the other people that are supporting you aren't doing that to you. Am I correct in that?
Totally. And honestly, I don't think I reached out. I told someone I was going back to Brazil. So I became obsessed with my mission, right, to make it work. And I kind of um sabotage my friendships and my relationships because I have also had a core wound of fear of abandonment, which I later on find out. So if I can just focus on my mission, you know, making sure that it's going to provide for me and everything is good. So when the psychosis happened, I remember thinking I didn't have anyone really like in my state where I live. I mean, where I live on the Gold Coast. And I had a friend here and there, but it was no one close. That's like, you got this. I'm going to come every day. I'm going to stay with you, or let's stay together. There was no one like that. So I resorted to, I need to go back to Brazil so I can stay with my family because there were days that I couldn't function. There was days that I literally couldn't get out of the couch because I was having recurring ayahuasca visions coming up. So this is a month after I did the psychedelic, which was DMT 5-MeO, Bufo. A month later, I'm sitting on my couch and I feel ayahuasca visions coming up, you know? And it's like I was going through so much and I'm lying on my couch for like 2 hours having visions, you know, and I've been sober for a whole month. So it was like insane. And so I started saying, I need to go back to Brazil, but I have a cat and I rent an apartment full of furniture. But I'm like, I'm going back to Brazil. And I was looking for someone to rent this apartment, someone to take my cat so I could leave. And somehow, you know, Carissa, Gabby, Kelly, they found out and they all called me. Oh, Gabby, Kelly, they called me like, what's happening? Why you want to go to Brazil? And then I told them because I had been so closed off of reaching out. So then Gabby's like, just come to Victoria, come to Victoria, we'll look after you. And that's when, you know, that's when I saw Carissa. And yes, so then I realized I was like, wow, I really need community. And I promised myself that if I came out of that alive and sane and happy and excited about life again, because I was constantly asking people, do you think I'll ever be happy and excited about life again? Because I was so depressed, so depressed. And I just didn't remember how it felt to be happy. And when I ended up, you know, 6 months, 4 months in Brazil, when I came back to Australia and I started getting back to my normal self, I, and to this date now, which is almost 2 years later, I made a promise to myself. Community and friendships and relationships, it's a priority. So even communicating how I feel, like if I would meet a man and I want to be in a relationship, I would play cool. Now I don't play cool. Or if I meet someone, a new friend, I tell them, hey, like I like my friendships to be deep and I'll be there for you at 3 a.m. on a Monday if you need me. Are you that type of friend? Because if you're not, I don't have space. But I could never communicate that to people. Never. But now, because I've gone through that, yes, I have that vulnerability and I have incredible friendships.
Mm.
I'm still single, but my husband's coming by the end of 2026.
Totally. And that mention of the vulnerability there, I love that because I remember that there was a part of your journey where you had a realization that the challenges prior to that you saw in other people that you held some judgment, and that by going through that yourself gave you a greater access to your own vulnerability, but also to holding of other people. Like your capacity to hold other people in their shit now is significantly elevated because of what you had to go through and all the pieces that you had to be in. And Kirsty, you mentioned the beauty of it. And I really do believe that these pieces that come out of the other side is where that incredible beauty is, because your willingness to be held by people who loved you, and just be in it and be held, was like, it was a real beautiful time. Like, you know, even though it was really hard, it was really beautiful. And what you've now got access to off the back of that is more truth and authenticity in your relationships, and more capacity for vulnerability on both ends, like for your friends, but also for yourself with your friends and loved ones.
Totally. And I have a lot more empathy.
Yes.
Like I have a lot more empathy, and yes, I can be there for people because and great that you reminded, that you brought that up, because I had forgotten about that. I used to judge people when they were going through a hard time. It's like, what's wrong with you? Just go to the beach, do some breath work and snap out of it. Like I remember a friend was a trans channel, and before me, she was going through a hard time. I was like, what's wrong with her? Why is she going through a hard time? Like, you trans channel, you should have your shit together, mate. It's like, hello. Which then when the whole thing happened, the reason why I was so depressed for a few months, it's because all these emotions that I'd never allowed myself to feel, because my father, as soon as I would start crying, stop crying, stop crying, stop crying. So like we couldn't show emotions at home. So I deeply buried so much inside of me that it literally, about 5 years of emotions probably came out all like in 6 months. So now when I see someone upset, someone is going through a actual hard time, I'm like, you got this. I know what's going on. Instead of wanting to ignore them and not have them in my life because they're not perfect.
Yeah. Huge.
Yeah, what a beautiful conversation.
Mm.
The piece that I want us to I really want to bring to the fore as we're preparing to complete this podcast is, we've talked so much today about the ability to communicate openly and honestly and authentically. And again, you're such a beautiful example of that, Rubia, which is why as I'm observing, why you've co-created such a beautiful relationship with these beings of light, because you're open to the reflection that you you will receive from them is that authentic, loving reflection, which is a reflection of who you are and how you're choosing to interact with them. And whenever we are closing ourselves down to an aspect of communication, to an aspect of humanity, to an aspect of light, of being, then we're not able to effectively communicate with others. And so I'm really grateful for this conversation today, and what the piece that you've brought about this communication, and across, no matter who it is that we're talking to, it's so incredibly important that we allow ourselves to come from this space of authenticity and love and truth. And so thank you for bringing that to us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. That was amazing. I could keep going for another 5 hours.
We say that at the end of every episode. We could just go on and on and on, but at some point we've just got to wrap it up. And so thank you so much, Rubia, for joining us today. It's been an awesome conversation, and I'm really excited. We'll put your contact details in the show notes so that people can find you if they're interested in learning more about your retreat. This podcast will come out before, maybe like a week or two before, 2 or 3 weeks before. And so we'll have those contact kind of pieces there. And yeah, thanks so much for being here, babe. We love you.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Bye.